The Return of Dr. Mysterio. How can I describe it? It's awful! It's dull! It's boring! It's the weakest story! Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. What's the story? Doctor Who meets Superman. Why? Who cares? It's Christmas! I have a theory that Moffat must have seen how the superhero films in 2016 did in the box office, and maybe thought, I'll do that. Even the advertisement for this episode is not done well. The Christmas trailer, the BBC One trailer, not done well. Even the BBC must have been really bored with how to promote this special. This is just an obvious cash-in that doesn't try at all. Do I really need to explain the story? It's Superman retold, featuring the Doctor. I'm not going to go into more detail about the characters, they just suck. The superhero sucks. The villains suck. The damsel in distress? Holy hell, she just sucks. The hero is obviously Clark Kent, the loser who doesn't do the obvious suggestion and ask a girl out, or just tell her the truth, and the reporter who is obviously Lois Lane, the obvious damsel in distress or girlfriend. There's even a date scene on the roof, which I think I would have liked, but I didn't. I just spend most of the time having my head in my hands, begging the episode to fast forward, and shouting at the characters stuff like, "Wake up, you morons! Turn around, you idiots! Don't be stupid!" The villains... Okay, first off, how come this guy doesn't know that he is working with an alien brain in a lab? Shouldn't he know about it by now? But I will say, having the monsters who appeared in the previous special be the main villain in this one might be a little okay. I mean, the effects on them were a little better in this episode than they were in the last one, and their plan to have the political minds take cover in one of their bunker labs during an attack so that they could use them to hide away in them does sound like a good plan. But then I discovered it's the exact same plan used by this Levine in World War III. Well, that just ruined my expectations, didn't it? The only character that did stand out to me was Nardo. Sure, some people didn't enjoy Matt Lucas in this special or in parts of Series 10, but honestly, he's one of the saving graces in this special. A guilty pleasure. You can tell that he is really trying to do what he can do in this special. Sure, some of his jokes didn't fully work, but when they work, they work. Okay, I'll give the episode credit for making fun of how the superhero gets his powers, and honestly, having the superhero eat an alien object by accident, which then gives him the superpowers, that was good. We've seen superheroes get their powers either by accident, birth, or experiments gone wrong, so to have a superhero take their powers by eating an alien object, that was pretty original. There's also a small segment where the phone call was edited to look like a comic page. Sure, it was a bit too much distracting, but it was pretty clever. I just wish there was more of it, or maybe toned down a little bit more. I can give Capote credit for at least trying to make it worth it, but all he ever does is eat snacks, do monologue speeches, and wave his hands around. Which, I'm sorry, it's not enough to save this episode. That's just the Doctor being lazy. Sure, it's made a big deal in Series 10, but after this, that just makes the Doctor come across as lazy. And that's what this episode is. Lazy. Stephen Moffat clearly had no enthusiasm in this story, that he just farted out an idea and just wrote whatever random thing popped into his head. Do I need to explain what I think about it? The episode is so boring that I'm not joking. First time watching it, for once in my life, I said to myself, you know what, I'd rather watch something else. I was even so close to changing the channel to watch something even better. I was so bored with it that I never watched it a second time. Ever. Not since its first release. What happened? This episode has made me bored of watching Doctor Who. And how could they go wrong with this idea? It's Doctor Who having a superhero in his special. Why isn't that interesting? How could they go wrong with it? Oh wait, I know, from the very start. And by the end, it turns out the whole thing was the Doctor trying to move on from River Song's departure from the previous episode. Oh, was that what this was all about? Talk about shoehorning it in, this just came out of nowhere. It's so out of place. Sure, there was a mention of a wedding ring or something, but still, if River Song was meant to be the focus, then why didn't we have that in the rest of the episode? Also, for God's sake, man, you've managed to get over it in your previous incarnation, and only now you decide to grieve over your dead wife? For God's sake, Doctor, for God's sake, Moffat, move on. We've moved on from it. Maybe you should too. In fact, you should have done that already. So everything we've just watched was all rounded up to something we already know? Which makes the entire episode, this 1 hour special I had to try and sit through, was a waste of time. Completely pointless. What is the point of this story? This episode is trash. It's fluff. It's garbage. And don't get me wrong, if it wanted to be fluff, if it wanted to be something on its own and just say, hey, here's something for younger kids who enjoy superhero movies or cartoons, that'd be fine. But it's not. It's Doctor Who. It's a Doctor Who Christmas special. And when you have that title, you have to have something that at least is trying to represent the show. And this one isn't even trying to do that. It's not even trying to be Doctor Who. It just wants to make fast money, look cool, and then disappear. Well, guess what? You did it. You made some fast money, you looked cool, and disappeared. I guess I can give it credit that it made me appreciate the previous special a lot more. Now I appreciate what the previous episode was trying to do. This is by far the worst Christmas special ever made. It sucks. It really sucks. If I have a child who wanted to see this, I'd say no. I'd just show any of the other specials. I don't know what to say. Just skip it. Don't check it out. You won't find anything good. There's nothing to remember. And if this is how this year's Christmas special is going to turn out, then I better pray to God that this time Moffat has his head screwed on right, and that there has been some actual thinking, some reshoots and rewrites being used to make this special work. I mean, you've got the first Doctor in your final special, Moffat. Please, don't muck this up. Let's pray to God that this year's special will be the one to remember this time. And with that being said, unfortunately wraps up my Christmas marathon. I'm sorry I had to end this way, but who knows, maybe someone might find these reviews and that would inspire the makers to come together to make something good or even better out of this. The real reason I did this marathon was to see whether or not the Doctor Who specials have been lacking in its quality over the years. Was this marathon as good as I thought it would be? Well, in some areas it was rather boring, but in some areas it was actually okay, and in some areas I was actually having a good time. You can tell which ones they rushed through and didn't care about, and which ones they actually put some extra time and effort into. At least I can say I saw them all, gave them a fair shot, and said my opinions on all of them. It doesn't happen all the time, but enough time to get themselves noticed. And since the Christmas special is coming out soon, I might give a small reaction video before I do a proper review video on them. So that being said, let's step into the TARDIS one more time, for one more Christmas, and hope for the best. I hope you enjoyed this marathon, and I hope that you, your family and friends as well, have yourselves a very Merry Christmas.